G'day, Paul here, up on Mount Coolum on this lovely spring morning. Bit of a breeze blowing, but it's very beautiful, crisp and clear. Our meditation today is coming out of John chapter 6. For my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise them up at the last day. Wow. At this, the Jews there began to grumble about him because he said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. In verse 42, they said, is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother that we know? How can he say, I came down from heaven? And Jesus said to them, stop grumbling among yourselves, and no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them, and I will raise them up at the last day. That's why Jesus came, to gather in the children of God and to raise them up at the last day. He says in verse 47, very truly I tell you, the one who believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever. This bread is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So he knew what was going to happen. He knew that his body was going to be crucified, and that he would lay down his life for his friends, for his brothers and sisters in God. And in verse 60, on hearing it, many of the disciples said, this is a hard teaching, who can accept it? And aware that his disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? Then what if you see the Son of Man ascend to where he was before? The Spirit gives life, the flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken to you, they're full of the Spirit and life. That's why we need to get into them, get into his word, and let them get into us, because they're full of the Spirit and they're full of life. And then many of the disciples decide to leave him at that point, and Jesus says to them, you do not want to leave too, do you? Jesus asked the 12, and Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. We've come to believe and to know that you are the Holy One of God. You know, and we all need to come to that realisation that Jesus has the words of eternal life. We might think we know everything, we've got everything under control, but until we get the words of eternal life into us, we won't find eternal life. Not with him anyhow. So very important that we get into his word. He said, eat my flesh. This is really what we need to do. We need to eat his words. In John 15, where he's talking about the vine, he said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you can ask anything you want. Eternity is yours forever with him. He says, I go prepare a place for you so that I might be with you. What a mighty promise that is. We have a mighty God who sent us Jesus to lay down his life that we might be set free from ourselves and be joined with him and become a child of God. There's our meditation today. Get into his word. So important we get into his word and allow his word to bring life to us. See you later. Have a great day.